Hey everybody. All right, so I decided that I would just go ahead and try and do another vlog. I know this is a bit doing two in one day. I'm not gonna burn out. Trust me, I'm not gonna burn out. But I kind of just felt like kind of getting into uh just doing another one. For some reason, I really kind of like the way the last one kind of came out, and it feels natural. It's not super hard to do. And a lot of the things that I got to say actually kind of felt good to say. So I want more of that. So I don't know. With that, I mean, in this particular case, like um, I don't really intend to delve too deeply into my own uh, psychology at the moment, but there is some stuff that I've kind of noticed that has always sort of been ringing around in my head whenever I notice that other people, with things with other people regarding like what I like to call, the wild claims, not accusations. I mean wild claims. Have you ever noticed that wild claims, when somebody makes a wild claim, it almost always, I think actually, I may actually go out on a limb and say that every single time anyone ever makes a wild claim, they have to back it up with some kind of a wild villain to go with their claim. You ever noticed this? It's like one of the most basic things that anyone can spot. Like, I mean, it, anytime somebody makes a claim that's like really out there, you know, then they have to immediately follow up with some kind of a reason why nobody else has noticed, or some kind of a reason why it's not already 100% true. Like you just don't know because of X, right? So like if somebody makes the claim that like, all right, let me start off with something that's very light, and then you can go into more heavier examples like later on. You ever notice that, like, okay, so someone claims I'm the best Overwatch player ever, right? So okay, so you're really good at Overwatch. You play video games. You're a really highly skilled player. And then, well, whenever somebody makes a claim like that, that's a pretty wild claim, right? Because I mean, obviously, there's I'm definitely not. I'm definitely a grandmaster skill player. So then something ends up well, why isn't that already the case? Why aren't you a grandmaster then? And then that's when the immediate need for a villain, or some kind of limitation, or some kind of evil uh, being behind the scenes is twiddling his mustache and prevents him from getting there. This in this particular case, it's always ELO hell, or or something like those healers, those pesky healers that won't heal me through anything. They never pay attention to me. And if you look at the best Overwatch players, they always have a pocket mercy keeping them alive at all times. But not me. No, no, I never get that. The world's against me. Everybody's against me. I'm, you know, but they're just trying to keep me down. Okay. So in that particular example, I mean, that's something that we've seen endlessly, right? But this actually ends up being true for not just that sort of a thing. It ends up being true for a, pretty much any time somebody makes any kind of a wild claim. So let's take for example religion. Um, in the case of religion, uh, this ends up being, well, it's a pretty wild claim, don't you agree? That in the case of I have the secret to the universe. Well, with that known, like this, there's this one person. He was super powerful. He was the Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost, all at once. He was all those things. It was monotheism anyway. Just outlandish claim that I have the key to the universe. So why is this not the case that everybody agrees and everybody knows about it? Well, obviously there's a Satan. Satan is holding us all down. Satan is preventing us. Satan is corrupting our minds. It's almost I know it's kind of strange to make such a leap from something that's, as innocuous as somebody claiming that they're the best Overwatch player to, to having the key to the universe, pretty much uh, on tap. But it's a really good example of how wild claims always require wild villains. So in this particular case, we're talking about a villain. We're talking about Satan. Satan, the evil, all-knowing, all-seeing, corrupting of the mind Satan. Satan will get into your brain and make you think bad thoughts, and Satan is to blame for everything that is just not right with the world. So if you could just eliminate Satan, then you know, then you can become a grandmaster in Overwatch. I'm just kidding. So um, it doesn't just stop there though. So there's a lot of political ideology works in exactly the same ways. So if you make like an outlandish claim saying something like, well, I don't know, everyone is equal. Everyone is equal, which is the cultural Marxist ideology, right? Okay, so why are we different? Why is there wealth inequality? Why? Oh, well, you have to explain that. You need a villain in order to do it. In this particular case, it could be any particular thing. I mean, it's never really a set thing. You can choose anyone to be the fall guy. You can or girl. You know what I mean? Like you can blame anything, but but you have to back your claim up with a villain. You have to have a Satan. You have to have shitty healers. You have to have something in order for you to be able to make that kind of a wild claim that everybody is equal, that we are all inherently the same, and that there is nothing that's different about any of us. That men and women can do the same things, and that's it. It's only it's the patriarchy that's preventing us from uh, seeing this, because the patriarchy is evil, is all corrupting and will get into your mind. The patriarchy, you have to be careful not to let this Satan or bad healers get into your brain. It's kind of interesting how this works out, but it's definitely a pattern. It's something that actually really truly happens within our psyche. We have to figure out. We like to make wild claims and accusations as well, but it's a different situation. Wild claims are the ones that require Satan. In the case of an accusation, the accusation is, it's a completely different kind of situation entirely. But if you make a wild claim that is, the sky is red, so why does it look blue? Well, because NASA is releasing chemtrails. You know what I mean? So now NASA is the ones that are um, evil. I know, right? Like, so why is the Earth? The Earth is flat. This is a wild claim that the Earth is flat. Or you can say that a wild claim is that the Earth is round. In this particular case, I'm just going to stick to the wild claim being that the Earth is flat. Well, flat earthers um, have to create a Satan as well in order for in order for the flat Earth to be something that people take seriously. It's very true. Like, okay, so in this particular case, if you follow the idea of flat earthers, or people who believe that the Earth, the sun revolves around the Earth and not the other way around, which is also a very similar situation to flat earthers, is that it's secularism versus religion, and in the particular case, it just mirrors that very much. Anyone who thinks that the world is round is an evil secularist, and you are, you're eating away, you're chipping away, you're a liberal who is chipping away at the family structure and destroying society with hedonism and debauchery. It's kind of a strange thing. So in this particular case, the evil Satanist is the technocratic leftist secularists. They're the ones that are making the world round. They're colluding to make the world round so that your flat Earth can never be true, and that God isn't real, and somehow it ends up getting tied in with that. Somehow it's weird. It's very strange. Incels have the same thing. So involuntary celibates, right? Involuntary celibacy has the same exact thing. Well, is being an incel isn't so much a wild claim in and of itself. It kind of is, but when it starts to become a wild claim is when you start going into the idea that being involuntarily celibate is something that affects all of us. In other words, we are all involuntary celibates. So in order for that wild claim to be held true, it's like if you don't have sex within 6 months, you are an involuntary celibate whether you like it or not. You are one of us, is what they would say. That wild claim, of course, has a Satan. You have to have bad healers and round earthers to go along with your claim that everybody is an involuntary celibate, and that the world is falling apart and the family structures are being eroded because uh, you know either it be social media is creating women who are too promiscuous, or uh, or that we should just lower our standards or something like that. Like people should just women should lower their standards and stop being so hypergamous. In this particular case, involuntary celibates usually tend to take the stance that women are evil and that feminism is evil, and it usually ends up kind of going into that echo chamber. So, in this particular case, the villain ends up being women, but it keeps going. Anytime, actually, if you really look into the incel mindset, it's I don't know if this has actually just become a meme, but there's actually like like a form of religion to being indoctrinated within that entire sphere. There's actually like the religion of being an incel. It keeps going. Uh, if you want to make the claim that that men and women are identical and that the only things that are separate, only changing us, is just society. And if you change society, then men and women will be 100% identical, and there will be no differences between men and women. Right? Well, that's a pretty wild claim. So you're going to need a Satan with that. You're going to need some bad healers. You're going to need some round earth. You're most certainly going to need Satan. Uh, and yeah, I mean, you're definitely going to have to deal with that. Those evil thoughts on on Instagram. You're definitely going to need to have one form of that within the in order for that to be true. So in this particular case, it becomes the patriarchy, which I guess I've mentioned already. Um, Cultural Marxism being so outlandishly, it ends up sort of uh, eating itself alive just immediately from the ground up, is probably one of the most wild claims to ever exist within any degree of sane human minds, is the idea that we're all equal. The only reason why we're not, we have different amounts of money and everything like that, is all explained away by because of the evil white males, or the corporations, or the rich, or I guess corporations and the rich ends up being the same thing. I don't think that's necessarily true anymore, because corporations and the rich uh, are not necessarily going to be the same one and the same as technology continues to go higher and higher, and there'll end up being a greater separation between corporations and the wealthy, as corporations end up becoming more and more like mini governments than anything else. So, with that said, anyway, it doesn't matter. There has to be something like that. And it's kind of interesting too, because I really personally absolutely love the idea that the only reason I can't beat Usain Bolt in a 10-yard sprint is because toxic masculinity is holding me back. Like, never mind that cheeseburger that I just ate. Never mind the fact that I'm kind of chunky, for my height. Never mind that. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. It's toxic masculinity that made me eat that cheeseburger. Okay? Red meat is the problem. If you're a vegan. Now, being a vegan isn't in of itself the same, the same thing. It's or at least something that's inherently a wild claim. But the claim that eating meat at all is wrong, well, you need to have a Satan with that. you, you've just made the claim that eating meat is bad. Where's the Satan now? Well, it's obviously those evil corporations that are just trying to sell you meat. I remember a while back that there was a group of people called the Breatharians, and they believed that food was a conspiracy, a corporate conspiracy. In order for that wild claim to come through, man, we are just going to have to make some Satans to go with that. We really need those shitty healers and cheeseburgers at this point. Toxic masculinity. We're going to need all of it. We're going to need all of the entire Avengers arsenal to come up with what kind of a conspiracy would this be? Oh, well, it turns out that eating food is a corporate conspiracy, guys, and we're gonna need a Satan. Well, corporations are obviously the problem here. I mean, let's just think about it. I mean, the food industry is one of the biggest industries ever. Eating food is bad for you. In reality, all we need is water and sunlight and air. And that's it. That's all we need. That's all we need. This is what Breatharians believe, or claim to. The ones that are still alive. Of course, would pretty much like with any orthodoxy, they have, certain people who are more successful Breatharians, if only we can just be. And it turns out, though, that the addictive substances in the food that we eat, put in there by those pesky corporations, will make us addicted to the food. So if we stop eating suddenly, we will just die. Wow, we won't even last a week, guys. We won't even last a couple weeks. I forget how long it takes for you to basically starve to death, but well, let's just say, after X amount of time, I will go into withdrawal. That the hunger that I feel is actually withdrawal symptoms to the food that I've been consuming by the corporations that are holding us down. They're forcing us to eat. Wild accusation, wild villain. It never fails. It never fails. I'm gonna. Oops, sorry about that. I'm gonna have to just go out on a limb and say, I don't think I can think of any time I've heard a wild accusation not immediately followed up with some kind of Satan. There has to be a reason the wild accusation isn't already believed by everyone. And I mean, on that note, that sort of segues into when do you have to start questioning whether or not something that you believe in, a wild accusation that you believe in is is false, or it's just stupid or weird, is the more dangerous the villain becomes, the more dangerous the belief becomes. Because once you get to a certain point, there's this thing called Poe's law. If you're not familiar with Poe's law, it's basically when you can't decipher the difference between humor and actual news. In other words, if anything that you ever believe in is affected by Poe's law, then you that is the iceberg. That is the ship sinking iceberg that should be the major red flag of anything that you ever believe in, ever, for any reason. This is difficult because, of course, I could be that Satan. I can be the shitty healers. I can be the patriarchy. I can be toxic masculinity. I could be all of those things. I could be any of the Satans that were drudged up. I can be the biggest feminist you've ever seen in your life that is just sucking the world dry. I'm a secularist who wants to round Earth. So you're not going to be able to actually decipher what I'm actually saying, because of course you're going to become triggered. You're going to want to react. Well, obviously, this Satan worshipping, round earther, secularist, God loving, God fearing, like anything that that whatever your particular belief deems as the Satan is what I'm going to have to be. Any of it, and there you are, right? That's the thing that's funny about this, okay? You're not going to be able to actually tell whether or not something that you believe in is affected by Poe's law. However, Poe's law is the final determination, is the first major stepping stone towards Satan becoming way too powerful, way too strong. When your when your demons become so strong that nobody can fight them, and that it requires absolute diligence and violence and strain, anything that you can possibly do, you're the crazy one at that point. You're the one you're the one making the wild claim and refusing to back down. You're the one at that point. That is weird. That is wrong. You're the one. That's the point of no return. And hopefully, at least this is entertaining to somebody. But I just felt like talking about it. Anyway, take it easy, guys.